the city, baby. When you see us, so you know you really viewing greatness in the making. Double up on facts we stating. Podcasting, cruise control, city, state, the nation. So what you saying, what we saying, prime information. Facts, keys to the city, we unlocking the statements.
Streaming every Friday.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Clovercrest Media presents Keys to the City. We are streaming on all social media platforms at Keys to the City. So subscribe, comment, share, and like. Sorry, I'm just in a laughing mood because that was cracking me up before we went. Look, you got Dan guys, and you got Joe.
Can I throw a wrinkle into this real quick before we get into our normal topics?
Is this Joe's one more thing or Ted's one more thing?
No, this has nothing to do with one more thing. What do you think about the Giants should sign Brandon Jacobs to play DN? He looks good.
Bring back Jacobs. Bring him back. Dude, I would be so happy. I love BJ. That's my guy. That's one of my favorite Giants.
He could definitely – he's got the size and athleticism. I think – listen, if you're going to give Tebow a shot, I think you should give him a shot. I mean –
absolutely.
Listen, he said if I get cut, I'll take it like a man. But, I mean, he looks great.
We need defensive linemen too. We can never add enough pass rushers. Bring them back. Let's go. I'm all for it.
I just wanted out. So we haven't talked to any Giants. I know we're not going to yet, but
we're not actually
see what your feeling was on that. And if
enough, we're not talking about any football today, but we are in the midst of a great period of time of sports right now. In the NFL. There's about to be some big news next week. We're going to hold off on that with the Julio Jones because he will be playing elsewhere. We just don't know where. There is a team that offered him a first-round pick. We don't know. They said an NFC team. I say screw it. The Giants should go all in and go get Julio Jones too. They got 2 first. That's all I'm saying. But we'll talk about that all next week.
The guy that's the line all the time is talking about another receiver. How many receivers are you lining up on the field? 12?
We're going to have it all, bro. We're going to the Super Bowl.
7 on 7? No linemen?
Absolutely. That's what football's become. Aren't you surprised? That's what football's become now. It's just 7 on 7.
God. Oh, my goodness.
Well, we got to give DJ the help. No, well, we'll be talking about the AL East. We usually talk a lot about the Yankees, but we're going to be talking about the AL East as a whole because the AL East, other than maybe the NL West, has been dominant with the Red Sox offense, the Rays consistency, and the Yankees are being the New York Yankees. So we'll talk all about that, which team is currently the best team in the AL East. But I wanted to start off with the NBA playoffs, and then we're going to branch off into this. Because now, as we all know, ladies and gentlemen, there are fans back in sports. The NBA playoffs, though, have been great. I've enjoyed it all. There has been some surprises. The Dallas Mavericks are on the verge of maybe ending the Clippers' they were trying to get their little dynasty going. Maybe that could be over with after tonight. You got the Lakers series. That's been great. The New York Knicks, Joe, that stadium or MSG has been rocking. I'm loving it. I'm happy to see the fans. Ted, what have you been thinking of this NBA playoff so far?
Well, I mean, I know we're going to talk about, but the fans that's the biggest thing I've noticed. The fans of all for the stadiums or the arenas that have been capacity-wise. The Lakers, I didn't realize last night's win was the first win the Lakers had at home since 2012. It was 5/18/2012. Their last playoff series was 2013.
Yeah, they were chanting COVID.
They made the playoffs, and then last year with COVID, they didn't have a season at home. But especially the Knicks Atlanta series, the crowd won game 2 and almost won game 1. The crowd was electric. The stadiums that do have the fans, fans in the stands make the game so much better. I mean, what a difference between last year's playoffs and this year's playoffs. I mean, even the hockey playoffs. The hockey playoffs have been extraordinary. I've watched a lot of the hockey
even with baseball, I mean, you could just tell the difference in general with fans.
Wait till they have more of a bigger capacity in baseball. You know what I mean? Like, you get a Yankee Red Sox series with more than 15,000 people, it's going to be electric. And that's something I've noticed with the hockey playoffs. I was telling Joe before, I watched the Islanders close out the series the other night against the Penguins. And then I watched the Knicks the same night win game 2. I mean, and both stadiums I would have loved to have been at both games. I mean, you sent me that video when Obi Toppin had the alley-oop. I watched
that was sick. I had goosebumps. So I think I sent you that to both you. And I had absolute goosebumps just watching. It just felt good to see fans back in the stadium. I mean, the NBA playoffs in general have been great. The Eastern Conference has been probably pretty much one-sided, other than the Knicks series. Looks like the Bucks are going on. The Nets are going to go on. The Sixers, the 3 best teams in the East, they're going to clean sweep. It seems like
you can tell those 3 teams are the best teams in the East, and it's going to come down to those 3. I think
and the West is wide open right now.
The Sixers are going to take care of business on whoever they play, Atlanta and the Knicks, because that series, those 2 teams are going to wear themselves out, and then Sixers will take care of the business. That Nets-Bucks series, I think the winner of that series, if they don't get beat up too much, will go to the finals. The winner of that series will go to the finals, and the Lakers are the best team in the West again. They have regrouped. They have refound their charm, just like last year. They got
the Bucks right now. Joe, if you want to come in, I know you're looking at other stuff right now, getting stuff ready for when you want to chime in. Have you been watching any of the NBA playoffs? Be honest.
So I've been paying attention. Like again, I hear the Knicks aren't going to come out of this thing. Although I just saw at MSG, you have to be vaccinated for a second round ticket, which I think is super interesting. But yeah, no, I've been paying attention, and what I've seen is that the fans are horrible. What is wrong with people? Are you you've been sitting at home for a year? For what? So you could just rush out and call Jay Morant racial slurs? What is wrong with people? I'll tell you right now.
We're in a pandemic and we're spitting on people.
Spitting on people. I mean, how classless can you be? Honestly, that you would. First of all, here's the other thing. Who thinks that's okay? We were talking a little bit earlier, and I told you guys I was at a game where Matt Stairs of Oakland got rattled to the point where he missed a fly ball by a mile. It went way over his head. Mm-hmm. And it was all in good fun. I mean, I felt bad because they were they were going after the guy's family.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw some of the stuff they said to Jay Morant's wife, but
what was his parents? His parents?
His parents and either girlfriend or wife. I don't know what I read there before, but they said some pretty nasty stuff to her, including some sexually explicit stuff. I don't think I need to tell you probably what they said.
Yeah.
And then there was a FUBITCH in there before the third different fan that got tossed from there.
See, you know what's funny though? When the fans do it, the other fans have no problem once something goes down. He did it.
It was that dude. Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing, though. You know what the NBA needs to do? And the thing, put these guys on blast. Put their social media out. Put these people out. So you want to be you're a big tough guy in the stands, right? Well, let's see how big tough guy when you find out, because someone will do something. There'll be like a video of like Chick-fil-A when someone acts a fool, starts saying stuff, and they post a video, and then they're like, yeah, you find out 2 days later they get fired from the job. I'm not saying they should get fired. I'm not saying someone should get a lifetime ban from arena, but put these guys on blast. You want to be you're a big boy to spit someone or call someone the N-word or tell her a sexually thing, or you want to drop popcorn and soda. Because here's the thing, I bet you spent about $150 to $300 on that ticket to watch one of those guys plays. Not just your team.
You mean the Knicks games that are $900? Yeah. And that guy was sitting close right to this. And you can only imagine he was right in front of this, right almost on the court. So that's probably over a G, maybe.
Hey, I don't know, let's just say good thing he didn't spit on 50 Cent, because he'd be
dead.
He'd be missing.
He'd be made of 50 cents. That's what his body would be after him. He'd be 50 cents worth. Look, there's been great with the fans. Don't get me wrong. Seeing fans back with baseball, it's awesome. Seeing fans back in the NBA has made a huge impact, and you've seen it in MSG. But there is also the bad that comes with having fans back. And if you don't know what we're talking about, well, the recent actions speak for itself. Russell Westbrook gets walking back to the locker room after an injury, sustaining an injury, and a man wants to throw popcorn. He's lucky Russell Westbrook didn't slip away from those security guys, or his ass would have been beaten. And I was hoping that just one day these little punk people, I want to swear so much because this crap infuriates me, because it's you pay all this to come watch these guys and you want to do that. That's not a fan. A fan is just booing, yelling. They're not swearing, dropping F-bombs, yelling at people, using racial slurs, spitting on someone. That's the most disrespectful thing that you can do to a human being. You spit on somebody, you're pretty much telling them they're dirt. It's the most disrespectful thing. Those aren't fans. Those are morons, imbeciles, buffoons, people that shouldn't be allowed in these stadiums. It's disgusting. I love that there's fans back. Don't get me wrong. I'm so thankful that after this whole year and a half that we finally get these fans back. But then you see stuff like this that's happened in Utah multiple times, what happened in Philly the other night, and in MSG the other night. It's unexcusable. It's disgusting, and it pisses me off because you get these punk ass people that want to come in and think, oh, well, I could do whatever I want now because I'm back in the stands. What if these players what if they were allowed to have another Malice in the Palace? I'm not saying having a huge brawl around the stadium. I'm talking about mano y mano. You want to spit on me? How about you do it to my face? Okay? You want to throw popcorn at me? Meet me outside after the game, and let's see if you got the balls to do it.
Let's just put him in the center of court and everyone pay for a ticket for pay-per-view and watch Russell Westbrook kick the shit out of that guy.
And we're getting fear because it's fear.
We've been cooped up for a year in a pandemic, right?
Yeah.
We lost the privilege of being able to go to sports games. When I went to the Yankee game for my birthday a couple weeks ago, when we went with a couple of guys. Now listen, we were heckling the Houston fans. I was heckling, but I wasn't saying what some of the other people saying. Whatever. Listen, that's everyone's prerogative. You do what you got to do. You're the one that's got to sleep on your own pillow at night and be comfortable with what you said. But you would think that fans would take a better appreciation for missing out on what they truly appreciated for so long, going to a baseball game, going to a basketball game, being able to appreciate. And you know what the bad thing is? It's stupid that we're even talking about this because for the other 15,000 fans that were at the Knicks games, they're great. I mean, listen, Trae Young, you're balding. Trae Young, you're I mean, that's classic. I mean, that's beautiful.
Well, they were also saying
he's got worse hair than Donald Trump on his head. I mean, it looks like a bird's nest. Okay. And then he's 23 and he's got less hair than a toddler coming out of the womb. I mean, it's unbelievable. And then popcorn and soda. I mean, you drop popcorn on Russell Westbrook. Like, listen, I understand it's popcorn. Like, there's no harm, but it's disrespectful, bro. Have you ever? I mean, I've never been a food fight, but like, you see videos, you see people. Like,
I don't think you could ever get into a food fight because you'll be wanting to eat the food. You'll be like, hold on, I got to eat all this food first. Don't throw. I need to try all this.
I'd catch it with my mouth. But no, like if someone ever hit me with food, I would freak out. And I don't blame
I 100 and I sent you that
guy to hold him back. And listen, good for the NBA and those teams that individually ban those guys, but there should be more of a shame. I mean, the guy who spit on him, sorry, crime. That's a crime. That is an actual crime. You can't go out spitting on people, especially when we're in a pandemic where you're supposed to wear a mask and you're vaccinated. Like
for the past year and a half, we said.
Like, what are you doing?
This is what I would say, and it just shows even more that we already knew about this, but it just shows the lack of respect that is in this country in general. It just shows that we just don't have no respect.
No, say what I think you're going to say.
Bro, not only lack of respect, but stupidity. Can you imagine being a fat, out-of-shape loser walking onto a basketball court and approaching a 7-footer like this guy did?
Oh,
that's great.
That is one of my all-time favorite moments. Dude, you don't roll up to Jermaine O'Neal like what? That's not smart.
So Colin Cowherd had Meta World Peace on the old Ron Artest. That was his name originally. So Ron Artest was
Ron Artest. It's still Ron Artest. His name is just Meta World Peace. He's still Ron Artest. He's not the old Ron Artest. What do you think?
The artist formerly known as Ron Artest.
50 Cent, whatever. So
basketball once known as Ron Artest.
Ron Artest was explaining the situation, how that all started. So the guy John Green was bet $50 for his buddy. Like, he'd be like, "Hey Joe, you can't hit Ron Artest with this cup of juice for $50." That's how it started. So now, long story short, Ron Artest is actually very good friends now with the guy who started the fight, who threw the cup. He was telling him, talks to him on a weekly basis. Just talks to him. Swear to God.
Wow.
They had to go
That's
to court and everything. And
That's awesome. Go to court and we
well,
become best
no, he really
friends.
does. And it's funny because he goes, Ron Artest didn't realize the guy hit him because the guy Ron Artest was going after in the stands, and the guy Green who actually did it was holding him back. He goes, but no one sees the video of the guy throwing the cup at me. All you do is see me running up into the stands. He goes, the only way we found it out was when we had to go to court because they wanted to make Ron Artest a criminal. Like literally, they see. This is what's funny. If God forbid Russell Westbrook or any of these guys ever retaliated, right?
Yeah, say he slipped off.
We'd be looking at it in a whole different perspective. First of all, we know racism would be involved. Oh, there's another black athlete doing stupid things. You know what I mean? Because, that's the first thing that comes to everyone's mind. Can't control themselves. You know what I mean? But, we look at it from the other thing. Yeah, they get a bash and they get banned, but these guys should be publicly humiliated. Sorry. If you're that much of you got the cojones to do something like that, then you got to take, the brunt of the.
Get an eye for it's like an eye for an eye. I mean, that guy is lucky. Russell Westbrook did not slip away.
Oh, he was going up there.
Well, Russell Westbrook was going to go beat that man up, and that's another thing. If that's the same way, well, what's that guy going to do? He's going to get his ass kicked, and what happens? Oh, he's going to press charges, like what usually would happen. But it's just not right. We've been discussing this because and all sports networks have been discussing when you've had a very, very entertaining NBA playoffs early on so far. There's been a lot of good going on. You're really seeing the NBA talent at its finest right now. Meanwhile, we got to talk about nonsense like this because it's just not needed. It's BS. It's disrespectful.
I wonder.
It's just unbelievable.
I wonder how much of this, because it seems like it's been white fans.
Well,
and I don't want to make this a whole thing, but
no, I think hold on. I think
there's a lot of fire from what happened last summer, and then with the bubble, and the ratings were down, and a lot of fans were upset that these players, basically took a political ground, which they did.
What did Kyrie Irving say the night before all three of these incidents happened? After the Nets won against the Celtics, they were asking about him going back to Boston. He goes, listen, I understand Boston fans are crazy. Let's just hope there's no racism or racist. Remember, he said that in his press conference the night before. So in the wake of him playing tonight against in the Celtics game, because don't forget, he didn't play this year, Trev, up in Boston. He didn't play. Remember, he sat out. So this will be his first game back in Boston. So what type of, because Boston, I'm not knocking Boston fans because fans everywhere are idiots. But there is a stigma about Boston gets more of a reputation. Yeah, they can be a little harsher than other fans. I just think it's unfortunate because, like you said, Trev, we have seen great basketball games. Both Knicks game have been great. We've seen great play from LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Damian Lillard, Jokic. I mean, the Milwaukee Bucks are
getting like Luka Doncic. I mean, you're seeing stars. The NBA, the future of the NBA looks so bright for post LeBron because, well, we know LeBron's been the guy at the top, and now you got such a great young talent pool in this NBA that you got to talk about bad stuff like this because of fools that we've been waiting for. We've all been waiting to go back to see. I mean, Ted, you already went to a Yankee game. It's the first time that you got to go back to a Yankee game in over a year and a half, 2 years, I should say. Since when we went to the ALCS. It's been that long since you went to a Yankee game. I haven't been to a sporting event. And now all these people are going back. We should be accepting this. We should be thankful that we're kind of getting back to some sort of normalcy. But no, we got to act like fools and a-holes. And we got to act. There's just no respect. It's just not needed. We should be thankful. We should be happy. And we should be enjoying these basketball games.
Look at the country we live in. As much as we love this country. This country's so great. This country stinks. This country stinks. There's such a lack of respect.
It stinks. It's just unfortunate.
Well, the country itself is great, but the people in it stink right now.
The lack of respect
because of everything that has transpired in the last. I'd say this country has gotten more worse in the last
20 years.
I'd say the last 5. A lot worse.
No, it's been like this for a while.
From the end of Obama's second reign through Trump through now, that is when things have really taken a nosedive. I've seen personally from listen, we've had incidents. We're not idiots. I mean, we're old enough. Joe's a little older than us and has seen things, but especially in the last 8 years, we have seen a definitely much more racist, disrespectful, inconsiderate country throughout the whole country with all people, white, black, Asian hate. I mean, you got black players sitting out because of guys getting shot. You're hearing, older Asian people getting just walking down the street and getting karate kicked in the head. I mean, just the country itself is out of control. And I think that, we have to also remember, this is still a basketball game. Like, you pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to watch these people play a sport, a game. This is their job. Like, can you imagine, these people, they work, in an office, on 54th Street in New York, in a business? What if Russell Westbrook came up the elevator and was like, you know what? Quick kick, bang!
Yeah.
While he's working at the desk. There goes your head.
Roadhouse.
You know what I mean? Just something like that. I mean? Come on. It's unfortunate because playoffs have been great in all the sports, basketball and hockey. And then, baseball's really starting to turn up. Fans are spinning the stands. The games are starting to get better, warmer weather. And, football will have full capacity in most of the stadiums once September 1st comes. So, let's just hope that people can be a little bit more considerate and enjoy and appreciate these games for what they are. And let's not get so worried about racism and whatnot. And cheer for your team. You could say what you got to say about the other team, but just be a little bit more respectful.
That's what it comes down to, guys. There's just no respect right now in the country, and it's showing. And we've been for a year and a half. We've been on this hiatus of not having fans and stands, and now we get the opportunity to finally see it. And what happens? Got to deal with this BS.
I've never been comfortable with people booing. I understand you want to boo, right? I mean, a pitcher, your pitcher. No, boo your own team. All right, Giancarlo Stanton strikes out 5 times.
Down my throat when I boo my own team.
No, hold on, because this is when Giancarlo Stanton made his much anticipated Yankees debut.
I booed Eli. You got mad at me,
and he had 4 Ks, and you're like, boo, he stinks. I'm like, don't be one of those idiotic fans after one freaking game.
I hate when people boo. I hate when they boo their own guy, especially. I just think, right?
Well,
your guy.
Who do we boo?
You shouldn't really boo anybody. But if you're going to boo somebody, I think you got to listen.
In 1998, he booed the A's. But he booed Matt Spears.
You got to boo situations, not people. You know what I mean? Don't boo the player. I told you guys, I was at Randy Johnson start in 2005 at Yankee Stadium. He gave up back-to-back homers. And he was out of the game in the 3rd inning, and the fans were booing, and I was like, it's a 300-game winner, one of the greatest.
Oh, yeah, right.
I had never seen him pitch in person before. And it wasn't what I wanted, but I got to see it.
Yeah.
I went and saw Wayne Gretzky's last game at the Garden as a Ranger. He didn't score. He had no points. I didn't boo. The pleasure was seeing one of the greats of all time on the ice, finally, for the first time in my life with my own eyes. I wanted to say I saw it. So to me, right? And again, you talk about respect. You're ruining other people's experiences as well. Spending $150 on a bleachers ticket, that doesn't entitle you to ruin my experience if you're sitting next to me. And I've often chastised the people in my section when they're running their mouth or booing. I don't like that.
It's tough to bring your kid. Like Joe, you got your younger son. Like, honestly, the old saying, earmuffs? You might as well make your son wear earmuffs at the Yankee game if he's sitting. Now, here's the difference, though. I'll put it this way. I've watched the games. If you're sitting in the richer seats at Yankee Stadium, you won't hear so much of that dirty talk that we're expressing right now. If you're sitting in the $150 seats at the bleachers or the $50 seats, you're going to hear a lot more of that because, sorry, the $400 and $500 seat people usually don't act a fool most of the time. Not saying all the time, and I'm only speaking in baseball terms.
No, it's just a damn shame that we got to deal with this stuff, and it's only going to get worse because it's just the way it is. It's terrible.
I bet you NBA teams in the league have talked about this and probably put a bigger emphasis.
I hope they figure it out because it's ridiculous. It's just plain and simple.
Well, especially the spitting.
Oh,
Listen,
that's
that's the first time we've seen popcorn or something get thrown at a guy. Okay, we've seen that in years. So that's not unfamiliar. I've seen it before. Westbrook's got into it with a Jazz fan. We've seen other stuff happen before. But spitting on someone's a whole different level. Listen, what's it? John Moran's parents is the first parents that ever got, crap in the stands, from other. Listen, then put them in the suite and don't let them have to deal with that. That's what I would do. I wouldn't put my parents in the
When
stands.
I go to sporting events, the only people I boo are the referees because they deserve to be booed. Right, Ted? I put Ted in the awkward position. Referee Ted over there. I'm just kidding, Ted. Well, that's the only people I like to boo when I'm at games. I don't really like to boo. I used to be one of those guys, but the way that it's. What do you mean? You don't think what? I'm not that bad. Give me an example.
No comment.
Whoa, what game? What team? What player? Come on, I'm asking.
I don't remember. What was the game that you were? You were booing when we were drunk at the Yankee game that play LCS, right? Was that the CS?
Oh, it was with the Astros. I don't like the Astros.
I don't boo.
I boo.
You should have heard him. F this and F that and screw you and this and that. He was giving it to him. He told him, go back to Cincinnati.
Yeah, go back to Houston. Speaking of baseball, the AL East. Now, we're going to get on to the MLB because, well, we like to talk a lot of MLB on this show. We usually like to talk a lot of Yankees, but we will talk Yankees. But I want to talk about the AL East as a whole because this division, alongside with the NL West, have been awesome, have been just great baseball, great teams playing, 6 teams. These are 6 of the best teams, maybe the 6 best teams in baseball right now. But the AL East is what I want to talk about because we are Yankee fans and we're going to stick to our division and only our division. So the question is very simple. These are 3 of the best teams in the AL. They got the Red Sox offense, who's been nasty, carried by Rafael Devers, JD Martinez, Xander Bogaerts, and Christian Verdugo. And those guys have been excellent. Their offense has been great. The pitching is in question. The Yankees have been one of the favorites for the past, forever. So they're always going to be in the hunt in the AL East. And then you got the consistent Rays. So I'm going to ask you guys, and be honest, who is currently, and I mean currently now, not in 3 weeks, not a month, not at the end of the year, or not back at the beginning of the season. I'm talking right now, who is currently the best team in your mind in the AL East? Joe, I'll start with you. Is it the Sox? Is it the Rays? Or is it the Yankees?
It's the Yankees.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. I think when it comes to the Red Sox, the more I've looked at the Red Sox, I mean, they're off to a pretty fantastic start. You mentioned it earlier, a team no one expected to be there. Whether Chris Sale makes it back and if he's impactful or not, I just don't think the pitching is there.
Okay.
If you look at the way Pivetta and Eovaldi have pitched so far, they're not pitching great.
Mm-hmm.
Pivetta, I believe, is 6-0, and his ERA's almost 4. He's not exactly throwing shutouts. So it's really been, I think, more a matter of
3.86.
Yeah, he's 6-0 with an ERA like that. Again, the pitching isn't great. Their bullpen's still not settled. And I mentioned this earlier. It's 4 guys that are doing all the damage in Boston right now. I just don't know if that's sustainable over the course of 162 games. Looking at Tampa Bay, it's the same thing. I mean, their offense has cumulatively done well.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, outside of Joey Wendell, I mean, nobody's really tearing the cover off the ball there. Austin Meadows has been hitting a lot of late. But, again, I have to think if the Yankees, I mean, now, again, I'm a little concerned with the Corey Kluber thing. I think if he's going to be out for the 2 months that they're saying, that could be an issue. But the Yankees are clicking. Gleyber Torres is hitting the ball better than anybody right now, and he still only has 2 home runs.
Yep.
I think this is a guy who's going to start hitting bunches of home runs soon. I think if you look at the Yankees and ask yourself, if not for 25 guys thrown off on the base paths, what things might look like. The Yankees have played, not only was that 5-10 start bad, the pitching was bad. The hitting was bad. The clutch hitting was bad. The running was bad. The defense was bad. They've started to get everything back together again. And now we're dealing with a couple injuries. Now you got Luke Voigt's hurt, and Stanton's obviously been out, and Hicks is out.
We're going to have to watch out something else, because what caught my eye last night was, in a save predicament, they didn't use Chapman last night.
He was sick.
That's what it was. That was end up reporting. Okay, I didn't hear.
Yep,
I didn't watch Marakovic's post game thing, because I was like, all right, here it comes. Here comes his 10-day DL. The reason why I was laughing while Joe was talking, because I was just clicking AL East, and I'm laughing because it said, the New York Post said 2 men were booted from the Yankee Stadium last night in the doubleheader after having a banner over the thing that said, "Trump won, save America."
Oh my God.
So secure.
Again, dude, right? I mean, imagine you've been stuck in your house for a year and a half. You want to go out and watch a baseball game, and it's like, I'm going to just be an obnoxious dick.
Well, he had a big banner, like Joe, I'm talking like a big banner.
Oh, I saw it. I saw it this morning.
Trump won, save America.
Oh, my God.
But I don't know how you get booted. I mean, just tell him to put it away. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess everything with Trump affects it. But listen, the question is,
anytime you mention the T word now, it's just like, nope, you're done.
Okay.
You're gone.
And it's funny because before he became president, he was actually kind of liked. You know what I mean? He kind of joked about it, and then being president, it's like, yeah, he's in. So, getting back to the question, what you asked. Right now, you asked me, I'll take the Rays, because I think the Yankees are not the best team right now, because the team that is on the field right now is not the best team. We have too many injuries and too many concerns, and they're not hitting the ball consistently enough. Even though I know Judge has been hitting the ball well, Glaber's been playing well, I know Sanchez hit the ball well, but DJ's not playing up to our expectation, all right? The pitching has been great, but I have a little concern with Kluber being hurt, so that means everyone else has to step up. Herman pitched great yesterday, but we only got 2 hits, and I've seen that too many times so far this season. But to my point is, when we reevaluate this question next Friday or Thursday or Friday, after the Yankees play a 7-game set with 4 games against the Rays starting on Monday and then 3 games against the Red Sox, let's see how the Yankees do in those 7 games.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how they do against the 4 games against the Rays.
Are they home? Are they both home? Are they both home series?
Give me 1 second.
I know they're home against the Sox.
They are home against the Yankees.
The Yankees are playing the Yankees.
They're at the Tigers. They're at the Tigers this week. Home against the Rays, and then home against the Red Sox. They're a 7-game set, and then they go to the Twins.
Here's my other issue with both Boston and Tampa.
Yeah, Joe, I wanted to ask you this. What would be your biggest concern for each team if you had to?
Well, Tampa specifically has played like garbage in that garbage dump of a stadium that they
play so well on the road. They're 19-7 on the road.
That's great, but I mean, think about the last team that played 500 at home and had a good and made the playoffs. It doesn't happen.
Wait, wasn't this the Yankees a couple years ago, Joe? Didn't the Yankees have a better road record than home?
They might have had a better road record, but we've never seen. Well, and again, that's one thing where I mean, so right, 81 games you're playing, 81 at home. So say 81. you're 50 and 32 at home, and you're 52 and 30. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
6-1 half dozen the other. This is bad. These teams are playing 500 at home, both the Red Sox and Tampa. I'm more concerned with Tampa in regards to that because it's not a fun place to play. It's not a good place to hit. It's not a good place to pitch. I think if you're going to try to hang with the Yankees and the Red Sox and through 26 games, I mean, again, for a team that's playing 60, winning at a 61% clip.
Yep. They're
500 at home.
They're 9-1. They're 9-1 in their last 10. The Rays. They're 13-13 at home, 19-7 on the road. The Yankees have the best home record in the division at 15-11. They're 14-10 on the road. They've won 7 of their last 10. So
hold on for 1 sec. Hold on. Wouldn't you be more impressed, Joe, that they're winning on the road?
No.
Because they could get it going at home, whereas you're going to have to go on the road in hostile environments.
Sure, that's going to. But again, that's going to fall off 19-7. I mean, they've played 18 games against the West so far this year, and they're 9-9 against, the Rangers, Angels, and Mariners. Give me a break. So, again, people want to – well, the Yankees aren't beating the O's, and they're not beating up Toronto like they used to. Well, I'm sorry. Who's Tampa Bay beating? Who's Tampa been whipping? Have they been whipping up on Oakland and the White Sox and the Red Sox or no? Because I don't think so. So – Again, you could criticize the Yankees for the way they're winning. You could criticize the Yankees for who they're winning, but then you won't make that same thing when it comes to Tampa or Boston.
Yeah, they beat the the Royals, the Blue Jays, the Orioles, and the Mets. That's been their last 4 series since they've gotten swept by the Yankees.
Yeah, no wonder they played so well.
But hey, I know you can only play who's on your schedule, but I know. Listen,
sure.
I just like the Rays right now. You said the question right now. Ask me at the next Friday. My evaluation might be, hey, listen, Yankees just won 5 out of 7 against the Astros and the Rays and the Red Sox. But listen, I think at the end of the day, we all agree, even though we're biased because we are Yankee fans, that the Yankees team still has the best team because they have the bullpen. They have the better bullpen of the 3 teams. I believe they have the better offense when they're fully healthy. When Boyd's there,
the Rays because the Yankees haven't been. I would still say the Rays because the Yankees haven't been able to beat the Rays in those moments that we expect them to prevail and come out on top. It's been like the Yankees' kryptonite the past couple of years, and I know we all can agree on that the Yankees have struggled mightily against the Rays. And I'm talking about in the regular season / postseason. They have the number of the New York Yankees. Maybe this year I'm hoping this year is different. I really am. But right now, I would go with the Rays too. And like I said, like what Ted said, my mind can change in a week because we could get a true test now of where the Yanks rank in the AL East. They're gonna have a 4-game series against the Rays at home, and then you get and that's another thing. The Rays are on the road. They've been road warriors so far. They've been winning on the road. Let's see how they do when they come to Yankee Stadium. And then you play the Red Sox, and we all know how that always is. That's always a classic bloodbath, plain and simple. And so I'm gonna go with the Rays. I would say the Yankees would be right under them. But if I had to say a concern, I mean, what do you think is your biggest concern for each team? Joe, you said for the Rays it was not winning at home.
Yeah.
And the Red Sox, you would probably say, is the pitching, right? Because the offense is there. It's just the pitching.
Sure. I think I mentioned those 4 guys are carrying the team. I think those guys could do it all year. They're good enough. Certainly are.
What would be
carry? You listen. We've seen 2 guys carry. I mean, the old Red Sox teams it was Judge. It was Manny and Ortiz, and then you had a bunch of role players that had key hits. But those were the 2 big guns. But you got, like Joe just said, those 4 guys. I mean, they're just piling up numbers right now. And so for the Red Sox, that's why they're like leading the league in runs per game. So I mean, that helps. Listen, we've talked about this before. Me and Joe, we've gotten in arguments about the pitching. Listen, when you're scoring 5, 6, 7 runs a game, your pitching could be at a 4.0 ERA if your team scored 6 runs. You know what I mean? We know that. I mean, just like football, we talk about, you score 30 points a game, you make your defense better because, they know your team's going to score, and most of the time you're up, which means you make that other offense predictable, which means you're pass rushing, and it's a different ball game.
So what is your biggest concern for the Yankees then right now?
Injuries. It's been an issue the 3-4 years. I mean, here's the thing. So Kluber's been phenomenal, right? He's looked like the Cy Young pitcher that we thought. But now he's out for 2 months, right? He's got some shoulder strain, which maybe the Yankees should have skipped his start, even though he had an extra day of rest after that no-hitter. Because even David Cohn was talking about it in the game yesterday, saying after he pitched that perfect game, he was never the same pitcher afterwards. He said that a lot of times pitchers sometimes are never the same after because of just the mental stress. And, now it wasn't Kluber, I think, pitched only, I had to get 101 pitches to finish that game. So it wasn't like Yohan Santana for the Mets when he had like 144 pitches because he was never the same either. But, last year he only pitched, 1 inning or 1 game? And then, he hasn't pitched much. And then, you got the kids, James Talion?
Yeah.
I always say his name wrong, and I say it wrong all the time. He hasn't pitched a full season. So, when does his injury concern ever spray up? Herman didn't pitch much last year. For the most part, everyone's been pitching really good. Montgomery's looked really good. You just wonder, when. My thing is this: it's not will, it's when will it happen in injuries.
Can we see all these 3 teams being aggressive at the trade deadline?
So here's the thing. I don't think the Rays will ever be aggressive. They make, puzzle pieces. They chisel an end off. They put a little piece to get a utility player. I think the Red Sox, you could see them going after a pitcher. And here's the thing. Me and Joe have always talked about. The Yankees are going to hopefully get a healthy Severino back. right? So you're bringing an ace in the hole late in the
could
season.
the Yankees look for a lefty? Like
bat?
I've heard of like a Joey Gallo could be on the market. There's some players that the Yankees have been intrigued.
The other thing all depends on how the market shapes up, because if you get a lot of teams where, like right now, at least 4 teams are in the bid for the division. So, and if you look at all the other divisions, if you got 3-4 races, you don't have sellers. But if you got teams where it's like, okay, one team is blowing away the race and the other 4 teams have no chance, they'll become sellers. But if you got like the AL East, they might all be buyers. You know, the Blue Jays may go, we get Springer back in this offensive lineup with Glad and all the players that we have on our team.
Is it more likely for the Yankees? Is it more likely, Joe, that the Yankees go offense, or would they add another pitcher? Knowing with the Kluber situation, don't know how he's going to return coming back. Talion struggles at times, and even Sever, he's going to come back. We're going to hope that I hope he comes in, and I hope he does great. I really do. But could you see the Yankees going for a bat, or could you see them going for another pitcher, adding to the rotation?
I feel like in years past where the obvious thing was, the Yankees need a pitcher, they would go out and get a guy like David Justice midseason. Mm-hmm. So, and then they'll still add a pitcher. But, again, you end up making a lot of these phone calls, and Brian Cashman's one of the best in the business. I think if you're the Yankees, you're open to everything. I think your immediate short-term, you got to find some outfield help. I've seen Joey Gallo's name come up. A guy who could play the corner outfields and the corner infield positions, which would be nice and give you some flexibility. Is because I tell you what I don't like, especially with Voit hurt. I don't like LeMahieu playing out of position. That's a Gold Glove winning second baseman. He's the best second baseman on the Yankees. That idea of putting Glaber over there is so dumb. He was a bad second baseman too, people. But I think the Yankees do have to go find an outfielder. Again, a guy like Gallo, to me, just really he fills a lot of needs where you can move him around in a lot of different places. But I think Joe, they're always going to look for pitching.
Strikeout guy. He's a strikeout. He's an all.
He'll fit right in.
He'll fit right in the crowd.
Fit right in. Listen. Here's I know we would all love the Yankees to go out and get a guy with a 440 on base percentage who hits 325 and slaps the ball the other way. We love that. He steals bases, and his defense is great. He wouldn't fit the culture. I know, who is that even? Not in 2021 Major League Baseball, but the Yankees, whoever they get, is going to be a guy who hits about 240, strikes out a ton, and hits a bunch of dingers. But let's be honest. If there's something to be concerned about with the Yankees, they've scored the 5th fewest runs in the American League. They've only scored 2 more runs than Baltimore. The difference is the Yankees plus minus is a plus 30. Baltimore's at minus 61. So again, that's pitching. This Yankee team has got to start hitting, and more than just hitting in the clutch. Yes, hitting homers. Just not seeing. We need some 6 home run games. Haven't had any this year.
Well, here's the other thing. If you don't get thrown on the base out every time at bat, you have extra at bats, which means you don't have extra outs. I mean, like last night, beautiful opposite double for Floro. Sanchez is rounded third. The ball's in Bichette's hands, and Sanchez is rounded third. He gets thrown out by 45 feet. It's like, whoa, easy. He's the catcher. Sit him right there. You got second and third. We have another at bat coming. Like, let's be smart. Like,
what probably the
times I've seen guys get thrown out is, listen, it's going to cost the Yankees. It's going to. It's inevitable. That's the one thing I say about the Rays is Joe, we've talked about this, which makes them so aggravating is they do everything fundamentally right. You know what I mean? For them, there's no shortcuts. I think I'm.
What do you look at you both? What's the matter with you two?
What do you mean? What's the matter with us?
Oh, you were getting tired a little earlier. I saw you. Don't think I didn't see you. Oh,
you know what I was going to say? You know what I was going to say is, and I'll get both of you to laugh. I pulled the Steve Rizzo. I was like, Remember Steve used to do this all the time?
Oh, yeah, of course. Do you know what I was going to say about the whole Gary thing? You guys could agree with this, that there were probably Yankee fans hoping that when he rounded the bases, he tweaked his hamstring or something and said,
no one wants that. Every Yankee
Really?
fan was
Really?
everyone
You don't
was-
believe that Yankee fan? Really? You don't believe that?
Then they're not Yankee fans. Listen, I want him to succeed. I want everyone to succeed. It's aggravating when they don't because you know the talent's there. You watch him hit that home run last night, and you're like, it's there. You know it's there. He's just not consistent enough.
It's been there for
He's
4
like,
years.
his at-bats are like Shaquille O'Neal's free throws. You know he can make the free throws. He does it in the gym.
Whoa. Don't ever compare Gary Sanchez to a Hall of Famer Shaquille O'Neal. Ever
But
again.
you
I think that
understand-
was perfect.
You understand, Mike? Because Shaq, they've said Shaq could hit like 30 for 30 free throws in the gym during practice rounds, but in the games, he'd be like 5 for 13. And it's like, Gary, listen, when you watch this guy play, you're like, he's a good hitter. He really is. He has all the tools. And then you watch like a bats will go 0 for 3, and then the next night you'll see 2 for 3. You'll see a rip, double and a home run. You're like, dude, where is this, bro? I know you got it. The consistency, which kills him, and it's a lot with a lot of the Yankee guys. The consistency, Glaber, listen, these guys are good hitters. That's why they are where they are, and why the Yankees have not given up on these guys. They just haven't been consistent enough, and I don't know if it's a mental thing with these guys or if it's a coaching thing with these guys. And I don't know that because I'm not there in the locker room to evaluate that. But something is wrong with this team because they're too talented. For Clint Frazier, listen, the only reason why the Yankees kept Clint Frazier is because of his bat, not because of his glove. Now the guy's like a full club outfielder, and he can't hit a lick of the ball.
Can we be honest? If the boss was still around, half of these players would be gone. We're in a soft generation right now.
Probably, but Reggie Jackson leads like the all-time record in strikeouts. So
I'm not talking about the country. I'm talking about in sports too. The Yankees are being soft. If the boss was around, half of those players would be traded, right, Joe?
Yes, sir.
See, he already knows. Joe, do you have your one more thing or?
I do. You know what? I'd like to say Gary Sanchez. Hear me out for a minute, because you know what? People call him lazy. Does this look lazy?
6 starts, I guess it is, so the bullpen shouldn't be quite as worn out. The 2-1, and this ball's hit to left field. Hit pretty well over the head of Gurriel and off the fence. He'll get it back into the infield. The runner coming home, and the relay's got him by 30 feet. Sanchez is out by a country.
All right, 30 feet. Give me a break. It was a lot closer than 30 feet. Calm down.
More like 45. But listen,
it might have been 45.
He was hustling. He was hustling because even a couple weeks ago when he kind of pulled up a little bit, he was hustling around the bases. He's going as fast as the body can move. It's no different than when Trev tried to turn triples in the softball and be thrown out by a mile. And then Uncle Ron would yell at him and go, "Where are you going?"
I had a triple before. I did get a triple.
No, he would think he was running so fast when really those feet were moving faster, but the stand wasn't going anywhere.
Well, if you saw me how I run, you would crack up.
I just feel like since Gary Sanchez lost the starting job, he's playing better. The starts he's had behind the plate, the pitchers have thrown the ball really well. You saw him. I mean, dude, that's as fast as Gary can run. He was trying really hard to extend the lead that he had already given them with a home run. Another 2-hit game for Gary. Hasn't really been striking out. I talked about this last time. He's been walking a lot more. Look at the on-base percentage between him and Kyle Higashioka. He's got a much higher on-base percentage. Here's what I'm saying about Gary. Look, maybe Gary is never going to get the starting job back. Maybe this is going to be a platoon, at least through the rest of the way. If Gary continues to play as well as he does in the few starts he's getting every week, I'm all right with that. I really like what I see. I think his at-bats have been a lot better.
I have no problem with that because you know what? When you do get your starts, it's kind of like he's more focused instead of the 5 games, where he's got to catch 2 games, you focus. Listen, you know who else hit really well yesterday and starting to hit better? And Duhar.
Yeah.
Because he's getting at-bats on a consistent basis.
Wow, he's still around?
Dude, watch a Yankee game, bro.
I didn't even know Miguel Andujar was still around.
Dude, he's starting.
That's how you know.
He's playing left field and doing a pretty bang-up job. Left field
last night. He played left field last night.
Played both ends of the doubleheader and left.
Yeah, and
is that where he's going to be playing a lot?
Well, right now because they have no outfielders.
Yeah.
Amazing. When we had what 7 outfielders? Like remember, like spring training, like what are the Yankees doing with all these outfielders? And then now it's like we have no outfielders. Listen, if anything, if his bat comes alive, that's positive for the Yankees. And it's positive for the Yankees if his bat comes alive because if God forbid you have to use him in trade bait, you use him. You know what I mean? But listen, if it's hitting, more power to us because we need every person to hit the ball that we can find because this team is inconsistent. And again, it's sad. Luke Voigt is going to go through. I know this is going to be a thing all year with him. I know it is.
Well, let's close out with this. The AL East has been great, and it's going to continue to be great. And the next week will be a telling sign for not just the Yankees, but the Tampa Bay Rays and the Boston Red Sox. Let's see who is legit, and let's see who is kind of a phony. A lot of good stuff going on this weekend. You got the NBA playoffs. Cannot wait for more NBA action tonight. Do the Clippers go down 0-3? Boy, oh boy, there is a mess brewing. Possibly with the secondary team in LA, the LA Clippers. And we got the New York Yankees. I told you we'll also be talking NFL because Julio Jones is on the midst of being on a new team. So once that happens, we will get all that information to you. We are streaming on all social media platforms at Keys to the City. So subscribe, comment, share, and like. And you can follow also the Joseph Aguirre at Twitter or at Clovercrest Media, Podcaster Joe. Nobody circles the band like the Joseph Aguirre. Ladies and gentlemen, Clovercrest Media presents Keys to the City. We are out.
Yeah. Keys to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know you really viewing greatness in the making. Double up on facts we stating. Podcasting, cruise control, city, state, the nation. So what you saying, what we saying, prime information. Facts, keys to the city, we unlocking the statements.
Streaming every Friday.